What's going on, guys? This is Sean from Southwestern Studios, and today I'm very excited. I'm going to show you the new 2.8 100mm Sony STM G Master lens. So let's take a look at it. All right, so first off, showing the lens, this is a little bit smaller than the 85mm G Master 1.4. But we have a few new options right here. So now I'm filming this using the GoPro, but I'm gonna do my best to show you everything that we have. All right, so starting off, here's the lens itself, and here's it showing on the A7R2. We have, looks like a focus limiter from 0.57 meter to 1 meter, and then from 0.85 to infinity. So depending on where you're needing to use your focus at, this is what you're going to choose. So basically close and then close to far. All right, you also have, let's change this over here. We have your autofocus manual focus switch. We have the steady shot on and off, so you can switch the lens on and off, which is nice. And we also have the aperture control. Now, if you notice on this one right here, on the aperture control, it's showing up as T-stops. So here at the widest end, we have 5.6 T, and then it moves over from 8, 11, 16, 22, and then automatic. And then we have, again, a very nice manual focus ring right here. It is focused by wire, so I'm sure you know all about that already. I won't waste any time explaining that, but it does work. So let me show you a little more of the lens. Oh, also what you can see too, we have a focus hold button, which is programmable to other items, and then we also have the G Master logo. And one last thing, which I forgot to show you, was the aperture. You can set it to clickable or silent. So perfect for video mode, and then when you need to hear or feel those stops, they're right there for you, which is cool. The lens itself balances fairly well on the A7R2. This lens balances better than the 85mm balances. With that one, I really had to use the actual battery grip, especially because my hands are fairly big. But in this case, it's not so bad. And we open up right here, you can see the front element. Let's turn this on. So for today's test, I'm actually going to test it on two cameras. We're going to test it on the A7R2, and we're going to test it on the A6500, and we're going to see just what kind of results you can get from this camera. Now, since it's a 5.6 T-stop, this is not really used as a low light lens. You're going to get 5.6 T-stops worth of light, which is not that much, but the A7R2 and I believe the A6500 are capable of handling that limitation. Now, because this is not really designated as a low light lens, pretty much the best situation to test this in will be where you're going to have plenty of ambient light, but it's not going to be that bright. So right now I'm actually inside here, one of the Sony stores, and this has just the right amount of light to be able to make that kind of a test. It's not bright like it is outside, and it's not necessarily dark, but we're gonna check and see just how good the A7R2 and the A6500, what kind of images they can take, again, with this limitation in play. And again, for size comparison right here, so here is the 2.8 100 FTF, and here is the 1.8 55 Zeiss lens. So you can kind of take a look and see what the size difference is between these two. All right, so now we're gonna get to some testing. I'm gonna take some shots again, A7R2 on the A6500. I'm gonna recording it using the Atomos Ninja Flame. So let's do it. All right guys, so I'm back with getting some testing done from the G Master lens. And there's a few, I guess, points I want to talk about as far as it comes to this specific lens, some quirks that you may not have seen or heard elsewhere yet, but something that I noticed with some more in-depth testing of it. All right, so number one is that the autofocus is nice and snappy. Now this is pretty good because this is an STF lens, meaning that the autofocus is a rarity on these kind of particular lenses. So it's snappy. It works great with the A7R2. Works fine with the A6300. I didn't notice a huge performance difference between them, but they work there. Number two is that the background bokeh is pretty much what you'd expect it to be. It's there, it's super buttery, it's super smooth, and the subject is super sharp. Okay, so in that respect, it works great. Now, one of the things though that I do have to say about it, and this is kind of a drawback, is that 5.6 t-stop. So this lens is not really meant to be used under normal lighting situations. This lens is meant to be used with artificial light and outside, pretty much with the Sony 16 rule. That's where you're gonna get like the best performance out of it. This is not the G Master, which has 1.4, aperture on this. Even though it says 2.8, it's pretty much 5.6 as far as the light comes in. The background bokeh is something that even the G Master can't do, because the G Master's background bokeh is very sharp. This one looks very, very Photoshoppy, I guess. It's almost like too smooth, but it works well, especially if you're a portrait photographer. You might love the images that come out of these optics. So that's one thing to note. The build quality is pretty good. It's your standard G Master build. It has all the buttons and dials that you will need. Now there is one quirk to it though, and this quirk is the focus limiter. So basically what happens is on most focus limiters, on most lenses, they're just little buttons on the side that you use to, with your thumb, quickly move back and forth to where you want. This focus limiter is different. This one works more like an aperture mode dial or ring dial. So basically what's happening is that you are changing it with your thumb and your middle finger like this, and it works, but there's a couple of problems with that. Number one is the fact that since there is no all focus, you're stuck with either close focus or close to infinity focus. Now normally I guess that's okay, but if you're a photographer, a portrait photographer, whose focal length that you commonly shoot happens to be within that area, you might find yourself having to switch back and forth between the focus areas, focus points. Problem with this is the fact that since it's a ring-based mechanism, and it's locked too, so you have to press it in, you have to press the button in order to move it, and there's a lot of resistance on it. So it's not just a smooth button press, you will actually physically have to press it kind of hard and move it back and forth, and that might become a bit of an annoyance. So that's one thing to keep in mind. Now the other thing as far as that goes is the fact that when you do actually switch, when you switch, it's not immediate. You will switch and you will watch the screen go dark and then come back up. So you're gonna lose control of your camera for a split second there. It might not be huge for most people, but it certainly might annoy some people as well, just depending on their shooting style. But that's one thing to look at. I'll put it in the video right now so you can see. And one other thing too as well, as far as the aperture ring goes, is that the STF is rated on the aperture ring from 5.6 to 8. So those are the T-stops, I guess, that work with the STF focus. The rest of them go back to normal. That's what the lens itself actually tells you. So something interesting to keep in mind, but I don't foresee a lot of people using this lens past 5.6 anyway, really, because the whole point of this one is to be getting that super buttery bokeh. So anyways, hope you guys enjoyed this little video and this little talk about the 100mm STM, and I will see you guys for the next one. If you do have any questions or comments about this lens, I will be able to test it more. Just let me know down in the comments below and I'll be able to get back to you fairly shortly. So until then, take care and see you guys next time.